Hello guys, what is up? In this tutorial, we are going to talk about the for loop in Python. So if you do not know what loops really are, then go and check out my previous video on while loop. Loops are of two types in Python. The first one is the while loop and the other one is the for loop. In this video, we are going to talk about the for loop. The for loop is used when you know the exact number of iterations beforehand. It is commonly used to iterate over sequences like list, tuple, dictionary, set, string, or even a range of numbers. Before we start coding, let me explain the concept of for loop with a real life example. Imagine you have a stack of letters to send. You need to write the addresses on each envelope. You take the first letter and write the address, and then you take the second letter and write the address. You keep repeating this task until all letters have addresses on the envelope. Here, you know the exact number of letters, so you know how many times you need to repeat this task. This is how the for loop works in programming. You use the for loop when you know the exact number of repetitions required. So let's see how to write a code for the for loop. To write code for the for loop, we first use the for keyword, which shows that we are going to initiate a for loop. Then we write a variable name that will hold each value of the sequence or range during the iteration. After that, we use the in keyword followed by a sequence or range. The colon indicates the start of the loop body. Within the loop body, we write a task or code that will be executed repeatedly for each value in the sequence or range. Let's write a code for the for loop. Here I want to write a code that prints the numbers from 0 to 4. For this, I am using the range function. The range function generates a sequence of numbers. I am using the range function to generate numbers from 0 to 4. So let's create a loop. To use a for loop, we simply write for, indicating that we are going to use a for loop. Right after it, we write a variable name, which will be I in this case. Then we write the in keyword followed by the range function with the argument 5, which means the loop will iterate from 0 to 4. This means that the loop will run 5 times, printing numbers from 0 to 4. Now we use the colon, indicating that the body of loop starts here. Within the body, I print the value of I. So here I am typing print I. It will print the numbers from 0 to 4. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output. Now let's write another code where instead of numbers, we'll be printing elements from a list. I have a list of fruits and I want to print each fruit using the for loop. For this, I first create a list named fruit and store some fruit names like apple, banana, and cherry. Now let's create a loop. To use a for loop, we write the for, followed by a variable name, which will be fruit in this case. Then we write the in keyword followed by the name of the list, which is fruits. Now we use the colon to indicate the start of the loop body. Within the body, I print the value of variable fruit. So here I am typing print fruit. This code will print each fruit in the list. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output. We can also use the for loop to iterate over strings. Let's say we have a string and we want to print each letter of the string separately. For this, I first create a string variable named word and store a word in it. Now let's create a loop. To use a for loop, we write for followed by a variable name, which will be letter in this case. Then we write the in keyword followed by the string variable, which is word. Now we use the colon to indicate the start of the loop body. Within the body, I print the value of the variable letter. So here I am typing print letter. This code will print each letter of the string separately. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output. The for loop is also very useful when working with dictionaries. Let's say we have a dictionary and we want to print each key value pair. For this, I first create a dictionary named person and store some key value pairs in it. Like here, I am storing John as the key and 32 as the value. Then I am creating another key value pair and storing Peter as key and 45 as value. And then Alex as key and 25 as the value. Now let's create a loop. To use a for loop, we write for followed by two variable names, which will be key and value in this case. Then we write the in keyword followed by the items method of dictionary, which is person dot items. The items method return a view object that contains the key value pair of the dictionary. Now we use the colon to indicate the start of the loop body. Within the body, I print the key and value. So here I am typing print key value. This code will print each key value pair of the dictionary. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output where we can see the key value pairs. Now let's talk about break, continue and pass statements in the context of the for loop. These statements are control flow statements used primarily within loops to modify their behavior. First, let's talk about the break statement. The break statement exits the loop entirely. It is often used when a specific condition is met and you want to exit the loop prematurely. Let's see it practically. Here I am writing a code to print from 0 to 9 using a for loop. So here I am using the range function with the argument 10, which means the loop will iterate from 0 to 9. Now let's use the break statement within the body of the loop. For the condition, I am writing if I equals to 5. And then within the body of the if statement, I am using the break statement. What the break statement will do is exit the loop once the value of I is 5. In the first iteration, the loop will check the condition and print the value of I. But when the loop reaches the sixth iteration and the value of I is 5, the condition of the if statement will be true. At the sixth iteration, even before printing the value, the break statement will exit the loop. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output is 0 to 4 because when I reaches 5, the break statement exits the loop. Now let's discuss the continue statement. The continue statement skips the rest of the code inside the current loop iteration and moves to next iteration of the loop. It is useful for skipping certain part of the loop based on a condition. Instead of break, I am writing continue here. What the continue statement will do is start counting from 0 to 9. When the count reaches 5, the continue statement tells the computer to skip the rest of the code in this round, meaning that when I reaches 5, it will skip printing 5 and moves to 6. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output where the continue statement skips 5. Now let's see the pass statement. The pass statement does nothing. It is used to create a code block that will be filled later. Let's first use it in the for loop. Instead of continue, I am writing pass. The pass statement will do nothing. Let's run the code, and here you can see the output that the pass statement did nothing. But the pass statement is also very useful in the programming. Through pass statement, we can create a code block that will be filled later. For example, if I type if I equals 4 and run this code, it gives us an error because there is nothing in the body of the code. So if I want to fill the code later, I can simply type pass here. It will do nothing but helps us to avoid an error. Now let's run this code, and here you can see the output without any error. The for loop is also very useful when working with nested loops. A nested loop is a loop inside another loop. Let's say we want to print a pair of coordinates. For this, I first create an outer loop that iterates over the range of 3. And then within the body of the outer loop, I create an inner loop that also iterates over the range of 3. Now I print the value of outer loop variable x and the inner loop variable y. So here I am typing print x, y. This code will print all possible pair of coordinates from 0, 0 to 2, 2. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output. Now let's talk about enumerate function. The enumerate function in Python helps us to keep track of the position of item in a list or any other sequence while we are looping through it. Instead of just getting the item, enumerate also gives us index or position of that item. Let's see how this works with a list of fruits. In this code, we are using a list of fruits that we created previously. So here I am writing a for and then creating a two variable that will store the items. One is the index and the other is fruit. And then I am calling an enumerate function by typing enumerate, and then within function I am calling our variable fruits. So the enumerate function will return both the index and the element, and we are storing the index in the index variable and element in the fruit variable. Now let's print the index and fruit within the body of the loop by typing print index and then fruit. Let's run this code, and here you can see the output where there is an index with each item. Now let's talk about another function, which is zip function. The zip function takes two or more iterables like list, tuple, and etc. and combine them into an iterator of tuples. So for this we need two iterables. We could have more than two, but here I am creating a two lists. The first one is the names and storing names like John, Danyal, and Jake. And then I am creating another list named as ages and storing 21, 25, and 35. Now let's use the for loop by writing for, and then I am creating two variables named as name and age, and then calling the zip function. And within the zip function, I am calling our variable names and ages. Now the zip function will take these two lists and combine them into an iterator of tuples. Now let's print them. So I am typing print and then calling the name of variable, then writing is, and then calling the age function, and then writing the years old. Now let's run this code, and here you can see the output where the zip function takes two lists and combine them into an iterator of tuples. Now let's see how to use a for loop in a list comprehension to create a new list. List comprehension provides a concise way to create a list in a single line of code. Let's see an example. Let's create a list of squares of numbers from 0 to 9. So for this, I am writing squares. This is our list. And then I am typing x square by writing x star star 2. And then writing 4 x in range 10. So x is basically the value from the range 0 to 9, and x square is the square of each number of x, and then for x in range 10, a loop that iterates over each number in the range from 0 to 9. Now let's print the squares variable by typing print squares. Now let's run this code, and here you can see we have the square of each number from 0 to 9. Because the square of 0 is 0, the square of 1 is 1, the square of 2 is 4, the square of 3 is 9, and it continues until the square of 9 is 81. So that's it for today's video. If you have any question, feel free to ask in the comment box. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also hit the bell icon to keep receiving programming tutorials.